morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone tuning in. Whichever device you are listening to this on, you were meant to be here today. I'm your host, KP, and this is Tea and Honey Live Season 2, They're Extraordinary, where we have conversations with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in and for being so patient with me and understanding that with the whole hiatus thing, me kind of pushing Tea and Honey Live to the side was kind of a thing for me to kind of reflect, relax, and kind of just figure out what I wanted to do with this podcast. So I appreciate you guys coming in, tuning in, and joining me today as I introduce a new season that hold a special space to inspire and reach new hearts and open up minds to the endless opportunities to this world. And my goal here is to kind of share various stories that focus on being real and being true. So, with this episode, I have a very special guest that really embarks on the whole idea of this season. And I feel like it was kind of meant to be for me picking him. Oh, and I said him for me picking him to be on this episode for the very first episode of season 2 because I believe his story and the way he treats his story is something that a lot of us need to learn, need to grow in, and to be inspired by because of what he's gone through. So, with our first guest of this season, his name is Jordan Bolton, and most of you may know him as one of Gary Trent Jr.'s best friends. Yes, the basketball player. But what others don't know is his story of great strength and character. And so, in this episode, we show you how much of a positive fighting spirit he has and how much he wants to share his story to the rest of the world. So, introducing on episode 1 on the bright side of Tea and Honey Live season 2, we have Jordan Bolton. Welcome to the show, Jordan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so as I literally just stated, a lot of people know you as kind of Gary Trent Jr.'s friend. You guys
Right.
kind of go back a little bit. Maybe tell us about yourself, tell us about your relationship with him, something cool about you, and just kind of give off that positive energy that you really inspire others with on social media.
Yeah, I refer to him as JR. I don't know if you guys know that, but
I
so
don't think
when I,
so. That's something that I just learned right now, JR.
yeah, so all his close friends
Cool.
refer to him as JR. So me and JR go back to I'd say because he's a year younger than me. Um, Sixth grade for me, so fifth grade for him. Playing basketball against each other actually, and his dad. We'd always meet in the championship of games. So we saw a lot of each other, but they would get the best of my team, sadly. And
Oh,
we just kind of
that's
bonded through
that
that.
sucks.
Yeah, we bonded through basketball really. One day, his dad, just like, because he got in contact with my mom, was like,
Right.
Jordan's a really good player. I'd love to have my son, grow up with him. Because in the area we were in, Apple Valley, it's not really diverse. So he's like, I'd love to have another positive young black dude grow up with my
Right,
black son
exactly.
and play alongside of him. They could push each other. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what happened. But I was a little skeptical about that because he was my rival at the time. So I'm like, I don't really want to be friends with this guy. But once we started hanging out, we realized we were a lot alike and we
Mhm.
just became brothers instantly to the point where we were hanging out every day.
Yeah, and I think you kind of make a really good point there is to kind of have someone like within your community or someone that you know that you kind of relate to or kind
Right.
of can, reflect and kind of bounce off energy with each other, right? And I think that was what, as you call him, Junior, is what GTJ's, kind of aura and relationship with you is kind of what my essence is. And from what I'm hearing, like between you guys seem very like you guys seem like you talk a lot, you share a lot, and you kind of bond
Every
on a
day.
different
Yeah,
level.
every day.
Yeah. And how does he usually like contact you? Is that like through like
Usually,
FaceTime
yep.
calls?
Usually FaceTime. Mainly FaceTime, yeah. We'll talk for hours, just it doesn't even have to be like for a reason. Just
Right.
catching up, seeing how their day
Exactly.
is going or motivating each other to keep going.
Exactly. And that's kind of like it's kind of just to give each other, feed off of that energy that you guys initially had in the beginning. And because he's always traveling and you're kind of at home, right? And working on your own thing,
Right,
it's good to kind of keep that relationship, still active and still on fire for, like
right.
for its essence, right? Because I think from a lot of people that like experience this before, having a friend that you've known for quite some time now that have seen you grown and have seen you change and stuck with you for the longest time is like really, I think that's really important, especially with what you've went through, right? To
Yeah.
see have somebody on your side, like, fight for you or kind of encourage you and to kind of push you and support you. So
Yeah,
could
it's
you
been
tell me
amazing.
like yeah, could you tell me a little bit about his impact, I guess, on your journey and maybe kind of cover if people that don't know you very well, kind of cover what your journey is and what you had to go through and kind of cover what other people around you have helped you and supported you with, like Gary Trent.
So my journey is so I was a before the injury, I was a collegiate basketball player, full-time student, was in various of things with my college, like the diversity club, was in honor society and on student senate, working on my law degree and becoming a lawyer. So, and he was at Duke playing for the Blue Devils, obviously. So, we'd still stay in touch all the time with that and everything, like every day. It's nothing with our relationship other than the circumstances have really changed. So then one night, made a mistake, ended up getting hurt, and he didn't hear from me. So he was real scared. Later found out that I wasn't doing too hot. I actually died at one point, and
Oh,
my mom was
really?
telling him like, "Yeah, like we don't know if Jordan's gonna make it. We'll keep you updated, JR." And it's kind of crazy because my mom and cousin was actually going to be at his next game in Atlanta. Like they were actually gonna take a flight that morning,
Right.
and it got canceled. So like he got the news right before the game. So
Mm,
I I hadn't talked to him for quite some time because I was in the hospital, very sedated.
right.
And,
Yeah, for sure.
so then once, I was in the hospitals for quite some time, picked up right where we left off, him calling me all the time, talking to him, me just telling him I'm watching, rooting for him and everything. And I'm thinking I probably won't see him until the end of the year because the injury happened in February where they told me I was paralyzed from the neck down and only had a 5% chance of any recovery. So, I'm thinking I'll see him once the year's over. And one day in the hospital, he just surprised me. This might have been right before the tournament. So, I was in disbelief. And yeah, then from that point on, I could I could see the look in his face was very concerning, which, he's not a
Exactly.
man that really shows his emotions.
Yeah, I think all of us that are fans of the Raptors kind of know that for sure.
Yeah, so I saw the concern on his face, and I just wanted to make sure that he knew I was going to be okay. And I'm like, it's all good, brother. Just know I'm gonna be back. I just gotta grind. And he's like, all right, well, let's do this shit then. That was
Exactly.
his exact words. And from that point on, I just been with the help of my support team, trainers, family, friends, I've just been working at getting back on my feet, and it's paid off. I've seen great gains and just things that don't usually happen with a spinal cord injury, especially to my degree, because it was C4 C5, which is pretty high. So that means anything under that you're not supposed to get really. So the
Right.
only thing I really should have right now is biceps and shoulders. But I can get movement all the way down to my feet already. So
That is wow. Like of course I knew from a certain degree that it was a really big injury
Right.
per se. Like I would call it an injury, but like to know that you were only at a certain level to have movement, now knowing that you can also move your all the way down to your feet is like basically a miracle.
Yeah. Like just the fact that I have core strength is a miracle. It wasn't a 5% chance of walking, it was a 5% chance of any recovery at that point. So like any arm movement or anything is amazing for what my injury was. But I've been able to progress all the way to walking in a pool now and doing squats. So, you know, I've been I've just been keeping at it, and I've been seeing gains because they say technically you don't you plateau after 2 years, which I'm already past that point, and I've already been seeing continuous gains. So
Yeah,
we know that's not the case.
exactly. And to your point, I wanted to ask, like, what has positively influenced you to really push through the boundaries and push through that stigma of 5%? Like, what really has, like, inspired you to really just keep going and not settle?
Because my whole life I've been counted out and counted against, like through sports. I'm not the tallest, so I'm
Mhm.
5'10". So basketball's a tall sport. So,
Exactly.
that wasn't really in my odds. And my high school coach, like, he didn't do me any favors. And he would always say everything I couldn't do, but I was able to do it. And I just kind of carried my thought process with sports to the injury. Like I treat it like a game, and just giving it my all every day. And hopefully the performance ends up being a good one. And that's how I would say the progress is. And
Yeah, and
that's what
I
I've been seeing.
exactly. And I think I read an article, I think you actually have it in your bio. And you kind of mentioned that as you said, you treat it like you were to treat it like basketball kind of thing.
Yeah,
And it's the practice and the repetition and the consistency that really pushes a basketball player forward in their career,
exactly.
right? And so with you treating that with your injury, it's as you said, it's like a game.
And that's what helps with, the mental aspect. Because a lot of people think, probably mentally it's a struggle for me and everything, but it's really not when I look at it the way I do, because it's just like a sport. There's going to be highs and lows, but you can't get too high or low. You have to stay level head throughout the whole process, and that usually will set you up pretty right.
Yeah, and that's of course basketball has trained you a lot to doing that for
Right.
sure, and that was a really big benefit for that. How do you kind of, I guess you could say, using your story, a lot of people would say that it's kind of a negative thing in your life. People
Right.
would initially put that as something very negative. How did you kind of switch that for yourself and say, this is not really something negative. This is how I treat it. It's something positive in my life. How did you do that?
Well, I just want to ask people, when has being mad or sad about a situation ever helped it? For me, I can answer and say it never has. But
Right.
when you turn it into thinking positive and having a positive outlook on something, it will change your mood. You will feel way better about something if you're thinking positively about it. And usually, when you think positive, positive things happen, in my opinion. So that's really just my thought process with the whole thing. As long as I stay positive, positive things will happen. And that's how I was from the beginning. And I've seen nothing but positive things.
Hmm. And to deal with that, I bet a lot of other things, like people that kind of, I guess you could say haters, you could call them haters or something,
Right.
just people that go against you. How have you kind of dealt with that? Because I know you're so big on inspiring others. You're so big on giving that positive light into other people's lives. As for someone that does that on social media, how do you kind of, I guess, distract yourself from like all of those haters, those negative thoughts, those people that kind of go against what you're positive about?
Well, I just always, this is what I always say. I always say, only you know what you're truly capable of. You know, the next person doesn't know you. Only you know yourself to the best degree. So I just knew to block them out and, prove them wrong. They motivate me to go harder, to show them. And it's funny because a lot of the people early on that was like, Jordan, you're crazy for having that goal, are now believers. Now they believe I will reach my goal of walking again and making a full recovery.
And believing, does that come from just within yourself, or do you have anything else outside of that? Do you have family, friends, maybe even like a spiritual walk, your faith or whatnot?
Oh yeah, my faith most definitely, and family and friends. It's all a collective for me. They all play a part, and it just keeps me going. Like even the people that say I help them and motivate them are a part of the puzzle. So, but I'd say the faith is a big thing, and I've always just put all my trust in God, and just when you put all your trust in God, you don't really have to worry about anything.
Exactly. It's kind of like there's that bigger power, bigger person that kind of you're able to kind of release everything to and
Exactly.
understand that things will follow through the way they will follow through and you trust that process,
Yep.
right? So with that said as well, as you're going through your process, you're probably training, you're probably doing all these things. What does training look like, or what does a day in a life look like for Jordan Bolton right
Okay. It depends on the day.
now?
So I'll be brief, but so on an average day, I'm at least working out with specialized trainers for at least 4 hours. And then usually get home and will have my own workouts that I do until really I go to sleep, because with this type of injury, there's never something you can't be working on, because you have to
Right.
think like I was in the bed, so like in the hospital bed for 3 months maybe, because I actually got a bad wound on my butt that's made it so I couldn't even train during that time. So had a lot of muscle atrophy, which if people don't know what that
Yeah.
means, it's where your muscles just don't really have muscle. So I had to start from ground zero with everything, like everything. I
Mhm.
couldn't move my arm. I
Right.
couldn't move my arms, couldn't move my shoulders. So I'm just always working on something.
And do you
But
have a certain workout that you do? Is there, I know like you probably go through different workouts as you're stating right now,
right.
everything, you need to work on everything, right? So maybe you can name like a couple of things that you kind of do on a daily, like what I've seen on your Instagram where you kind of have this like, I wouldn't say garter, but like kind of like this lanyard thing that
Yeah,
really helps
harness.
your
Yep.
hips, right? And
Yep.
kind of helps you move up and down, right? Maybe you could talk a little bit about what you've gone through with that.
Yeah. So I'll usually do an arm bike, which helps with the arms for at least an hour. And then on some 3 of the days out of the week, I'm in this harness, like you're saying, and people
Exactly.
are helping move my feet and guarding at hips, like walking, walking essentially. Do
Mhm.
that for an hour and a half. And then after that, I do what's called guided exercise, which is where I'm on the mat working on seated balance. So, I might be moving side to side, working on obliques or doing sit ups or back extensions. Because as I said before, I had to start from scratch, like, I had to
Exactly.
rebuild
Yeah.
all my muscle. So then I'll do that. And then two 2 days out of the week, it's like what you referred to, being in that harness, doing squats with resistance and different things in that setup, whether it's arm balance or standing. And then I do a machine on Fridays called the local mat, which it's like a robotic machine that is attached to my legs and hips, and it walks on a treadmill, and it can do various things, and it lets me know
Wow.
how much work I'm putting in. So that's how I can track my progress with the legs and everything, because it tells me exactly the numbers. And so I do that and pretty much do like resistant walking to build the strength to be able to, walk on my own eventually. And then also on Fridays, I go in the pool, do various of different with gravity eliminated with legs, do some walking in the pool as well with a walker. It's like a pool walker that
Yeah,
helps. Yeah, so yeah, I do a lot. And then I also see a chiropractor, which
it's
sometimes I
amazing.
work out. I don't know if you guys know about electrical stim.
No, I don't think
So
so.
so it's like you place these pads on your muscles, whatever
Mm-hmm.
muscle you're trying to fire, and you turn it on and it'll fire the muscle for you.
Wow.
So I also do that for like at least an hour and a half to 2 hours.
And that basically
So
does like a whole strength conditioning thing, right?
yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wow. And how long are usually your workouts for these per day? It seems like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it just all depends, but like at least, yeah, I'm at least working out for like I'd say it's 6 to 8 hours of the day at least.
Crazy. You guys hear that?
And it
That's crazy.
and it's crazy because that's the work you have to put in to recover from this injury. And that's why they usually tell you like you're not going to walk again, because who's going to put in that work or even have the time and effort to put in that work?
Like those standards, your standards are a lot higher than what they've expected from you. So I
Yeah,
believe that's probably why that 5% comes in, because people don't believe that basically working out as a full-time job will be something that someone would do.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I guess to highlight about you and your journey is that you kind of use so much of that, I wouldn't say negativity, but just other opinions and kind of help boost up your own, which is
Right.
grinding it out, which is pushing forward and kind of looking to see, for the future and for the better. And to be able
Yep.
to beat those odds and to be that other outside of that other 5%, like, hey, I was able to do it and I was able to actually, pursue what I wanted to pursue and put my mind and heart to it. Yeah, so with that, what's your ultimate struggle right now as you recover? Do you have anything that's really struggling? Like are you really struggling with anything? Are you really, like is there something that's going on that as you do this kind of goes the opposite direction as to what you believe in?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Uh well, right now actually I've been having the best results I have since the injury in terms of recovering and gaining things faster. But I'll tell you, there's walls you hit in this recovery where you might be putting all the work in and you won't see any results for a while. And it was like that, I'd say probably like 2 years ago, where I was doing so much and I just wouldn't see any results, wouldn't see any muscle coming back, wouldn't really progress to like more weight or anything in the weights I was working out with. But just you got to keep at it, and it paid off for me. I ended up, because now it's like every week I make a new PR or move up in weight, or I'm able to walk further in the pool, different things like that. So, but I would say that was pretty hard, you know, to comprehend, because a normal person, if you work out, you're gonna see results,
Right,
pretty,
exactly.
pretty, pretty, pretty instant almost, really. So
Mhm.
just different.
Exactly. And how, I guess, for people that are kind of listening right now that are probably going through something not similar, maybe not even similar to yours, but just going through something, what would you say to them as they go through their journey, as they go through their obstacles and those walls that you kind of are talking about, what would you inspire them? Like, what would you say to inspire them?
I would say, you might have your big goal that you want to reach, but make small goals along the way that you can check off and look back on when you reach those discouraging moments where you feel like you're not pushing to where your main goal is, because you need those reminders to keep going. Like, you got to remind yourself how far you came. Like, you got to start somewhere to get somewhere. So, just keep pushing, and don't worry about what others say too along the way. They might encourage you to give up, but don't give up on what you believe in, because you will make it there. You just have to believe in it.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good note to put in just because I think a lot of us kind of put that comparison thing in between everybody and kind of just compare each other's stories, experiences, and be like, "Oh, this person's got it a lot worse than me. I think I'm better off."
Right.
Or I'm in such a bad position. Why do I have to feel so unlucky? I think with what you're talking about right now, it kind of helps people see that we're all kind of just the same in a sense,
And
right?
everyone has their own battles.
Exactly. And everyone has their own things that they go through, but we all kind of feel the same thing. We all kind of go through the same
Right.
thing. And it's hence why I wanted to bring you onto the show, is because with your type of story, people would assume that someone like you would just give up.
Right.
Someone in your situation would be like, I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. I'm just gonna, I feel hopeless, right? But
Right.
now that you've kind of shared how you want to inspire others with your story, it's allowing others to kind of understand that it's not just within the situation itself, but it's also our own willpower and our own faith, even, and mindset
Right.
and emotions and physicality, I guess you could say, to really just push forward to beat the odds.
Yeah. Because it's like, I remember I couldn't even talk. Like, my lung capacity was that bad. I had to be in speech therapy at one point. I couldn't even feel anything. Like, you could touch
Yeah.
my arm and I wouldn't feel it in the
Yeah.
beginning. And now it's crazy, because I really haven't thought about it until we just started talking. Like, it's crazy how far I've came by just pushing. And it's just crazy. You're gonna surprise yourself once you become consistent with reaching your goal and putting in the work you need to. Like, you will surprise yourself along the way, and that will keep you going, especially if you mark those small goals along the way. Because even the small goals seem like big ones when you first start out.
Exactly. And I think with me, like I kind of relate to that because with this whole podcast that I'm trying to, boost up and whatnot, the small goals kind of help push me even forward. I don't even think about the big goal anymore. The big goal was,
Right.
to get this big, to get this going, to, get really crazy people on here. But now it's like, no, that's not really the goal anymore. The goal is to kind of just take the next step and to keep taking those steps and
Right.
then reaching that final goal when you get there. And then you'll be surprised when you look back how much you've accomplished. It's kind of like
Yeah.
going up a mountain, right? Like you're going up and up and up and you're realizing, oh, I have so much more to go. But then you look back and you've got so much that you just went through.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's like a really important thing that your story really tells is you kind of push that for other people and you use social media, for example, to enlighten others about your situation and how you really, talk to people about your story is another thing because as I said, people would think of this as something negative, but as you talk it through in a positive light, it's giving others positivity as well. And you use social media for that matter. So thank you for that, by the way, because a lot of us
Oh,
have been truly inspired by that, even reaching Canada, even reaching
I
around the
I
world.
appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of us have been really touched by how you talk about yourself and your story. Like you don't, like others, sometimes they put themselves down. You put yourself up, even though your
Right.
situation may be one of the extremes, one of the many extremes. It's still the way you talk about that. So we appreciate that coming from Toronto and from everywhere else around the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. And to kind of end off this episode, I have this segment that I'm introducing for Teen Honey Live Season 2, and it's called Ready, Set, Inspire. So I have 10 questions kind of laid out for each guest, and they kind of stir into a very learning about the guest in a very specific or in a very general way. And this is where the guests kind of leave the audience with a character of curiosity, of being inspired, and the guests can openly talk about things or briefly talk about things. So it's the goal is to kind of leave us all with a food for thought and to finish
Hmm.
off this episode. So I'll go on and I'll say the 10 questions. And right after I say the question, I'm not going to really kind of explain it. I kind of want you to just interpret it the way you want to interpret it. And that's the cool
Okay.
part is everyone kind of has, as I said, their own story, their own thing to say. The way they interpret the questions also reflect that too, right? So with that being said, you're ready to go ahead?
Oh yeah.
Perfect. So the first question is, who are your daily inspirations in life?
Daily inspirations. I have to go with my mom. She was a single mother my whole life. It's just been my mom raising me really pretty much. And, just seeing the things went through and have done for my sister and I also have a sister. Um, she doesn't take no for an answer and always finds a way to get it done, even when really it seems impossible. So that's really my biggest inspiration. And she always has been my biggest inspiration. When I went down with the injury, that was the first person I talked to, and I told her I was going to be okay. And yeah, she's always inspiring me.
Oh, my heart. I'm already like my heart's crying already. That's so sweet. Okay, next question. And I think we kind of covered this a little bit. How do you overcome challenges?
Overcome challenges. Uh, I mean, I feel like everyone in life goes through some type of challenge, and the only way to overcome is by, pushing forward and trying to get through the challenge any way you can. And that's just how I overcome the challenges. It actually motivates me. I like challenges. I like proving people wrong. I like even surprising myself with what I'm capable of doing. So that's how I get through those.
I guess that would be your superpower then. For sure. What this is the next question. What sets you apart from the rest of the world?
Oh man, I'm horrible at trying to give myself any type of props. I'd say just like being balanced, being a Libra and everything. I'm a very balanced
He's a
guy.
Libra. No
And
way.
so like just being able to, stay level headed always. I never get too high or too low. And I think that really separates me from a lot of people. Like you'll never see me super depressed and you'll never see me ecstatic.
That's I could just leave it off there and we could just end the episode. Yeah, I have four of other questions, but I think that one really hit me a little bit, just because not just because you're Libra, I'm also Libra as well, but the way you interpreted that and just how you see yourself. I know how you just literally said that you don't really like giving yourself that much props, but you know, being able to kind of answer that and push yourself to, talk about yourself is it's a little nerve-wracking too, but it was a really good answer. I think a lot of
Thank
people
you.
would really be inspired by that. Fourth question, and it kind of has two questions within one, but what is one thing you would have told yourself 5 to 10 years ago so you could avoid it today? And what is one thing you would tell yourself 5 to 10 years ago that you would be proud of today? So what's something you would avoid, and what's something you would tell yourself 5 to 10 years ago that you'd be proud of today?
I would tell my old self to not really listen to others and take everything they say to heart, and always stick with what your thoughts are or what you believe in. Don't let someone else sway you the other way and really dictate how you look or view something. Because I felt like my young self really cared about people's opinions or, compliments from certain people, which it I couldn't even I don't even remember today, but it used to really bring me down back then. So I guess I would tell my old self that, and I could be proud of my old self about was always being you. I'm still the same me I was before the injury in terms of my mindset and everything. I was always a strong person. So I'd be proud of my old self for sticking to that, even when you have the biggest change in your life ever and you stayed true.
Mm-hmm. I like that answer too. um, Next one. How do you keep yourself grounded? And how do you get back to that when you aren't really aligned and grounded with yourself?
Really what helps me a lot is music, honestly. I listen to a lot of music daily, and that usually will calm my nerves, whether it's being anxious, a little down, or like too excited, it'll bring me back down. So yeah, music really helps me and my mental a lot. I'm not a big emotional person either, but I usually can release my emotions through what I'm listening to. So you'll know what type of mood I'm in based on what I'm listening to.
I was gonna say you're that type of guy that would like play the music in the car and you just hear what they're thinking, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, you're one of those. I love music too, and I love just hearing different genres. So I find music very I guess you could say relaxing to in a certain extent. Like it depends, I mean, of course, on the genre, but it really gives your brain kind of a puts it in a relaxing state,
Right.
I guess you could say. And you're kind of not thinking within yourself anymore. You're kind of just thinking within the lyrics. So that's the cool part, I think, about music for sure. Next question. Name an exercise or a thing that you do physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, and why do you do that?
Well, singing really, I sing a lot, whether I'm good at it or not, but singing always puts me in a good mood.
You should sing.
Oh no,
Sing
no,
for
no. I
us.
was I was in choir for some years, but I am not a good singer. My voice is too deep to sing, I feel like.
What?
That's
No,
why.
there's like those altos and the baritone tones. Why you can do
Yeah,
that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But
Good
yeah,
shot.
that's
Good
one of
shot. It's okay.
but yeah, that really, I really love singing actually. But I mean, my mom and sister will tell you I'm a bad singer. They get mad because when
Oh,
I sing
snap.
loud. So
They're probably like, "Oh my gosh, be quiet."
yeah, yeah, literally. I've gotten texts like Jordan, stop singing.
Oh no. You probably like you just leave them on red and just continue?
Oh, you know it. Or I might dislike it, depending on the day.
Thumbs down. Thumbs
Yeah.
down. Oh, that's a really good one. Oh, that really brought a little personality to you for sure. Um Next question. If you were to summarize your journey on where it is now and what you have overcome in 5 words, what would they be? And I know you have a lot to say about that in more than 5 words, and try to keep it to 5 words.
5 words, man.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, five is hard.
It
It's
really
hard.
is. Hence why I gave 5. I was gonna give 3, but I gave 5 because I was a little generous.
Man, you're really putting me on.
I
I'm really
know.
having to think here. This is critical thinking.
It's very critical thinking. Good questions, food
Five
for thought
words.
for sure. Name it as 5 different words that could mean 5 different things, or you could name a 5-worded
Yeah, like
sentence.
I feel like I'm trying to make a sentence, but it's
No,
really hard to do.
honestly, it's the way you interpret the question, and you could do whatever you want to do. But that's kind of like where I'm getting at is if you could summarize your journey, whether it's 5 words that could mean 5 separate things, or 5 words that could be put in a sentence, what would they be?
Still a ways to go
I'm gonna ask you to elaborate on that. Why?
because I've came a long way already, but there's still a long way to go to get to my goal.
And that's you can put that in where you are in life with your physical injury, or it could be with anything else. It's
Exactly.
definitely it's definitely a good one. How next question. How do you try to inspire the people around you or the ones who follow you every day?
I just try to inspire them with just reminding them that only you can control your destiny, really. Like, there might be stuff that happens to you unexpectedly,
Right,
but
exactly.
how you react to that is ultimately going to be where things end up. So that's all I try to really, that's really what my main message is always. And yeah, that's why I came up with the why not me? Because a lot of people ask why me when something bad happens to them. But that's why I like to say, why not me?
Yeah, and with your bracelet and everything, which I have received, that really kind of puts that into perspective for sure. And it really sets that statement, I think. And that really kind of describes, from an outsider perspective, it really describes your character for sure.
Thank you.
Because you're basically, yeah, you're basically just beating the odds. And you're saying, nah, I'm going to go the other way because all the other people are saying this way. So I'm just going to go the other way and be proud of that, like, and that just is not just a reflection of your story with what you've gone through, but also just who you are. And of course, I don't really personally know you from the past, but from what I'm hearing, it's really it's really shown, especially through your journey physically. And it's very important for people to really understand that in a deeper level, in a personal level. So, second last question. What is the legacy you want to inspire others with?
I don't even know if I really want a legacy or any credit. I just hope that I inspire people to, just try to better themselves on a daily basis. And if you do that for yourself, you're going to see amazing results with whatever you're trying to accomplish. So I just hope when people think of me, they just want to think about getting to that next step. And even when you reach your main goal, keep going, make a new goal and reach
Mm,
that one and just keep it going. It shouldn't stop once you reach one. You just
don't be complacent.
exactly.
Hmm. And to finish it off, I have 4 different statements that I want you to finish the sentence off with. So I'll start off the sentence and you'll complete it. Okay?
Okay.
So the first one is I want to.
Be the best person I can possibly be.
I understand that.
You may go through struggles in life, but that does not mean it will remain if you don't want it to. You just have to stay positive and keep pushing.
I hold on to.
The people that stay in my corner through the highs and lows,
And last but not least, I can do this because.
I believe it and I pray it happens.
Mm.
So when I do those two things, usually I get the results.
And that is Jordan Bolton, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being on this episode. And I really hope that you really had to think things through, as you could see from earlier, trying to figure out how to fit their experience in 5 words. I really hope that you were able to kind of reflect and just to be able to share your story in a different way. And thank
I
you for being
was.
here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course. So, to kind of finish it off and to kind of give credit, where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you? Where can they follow your journey?
So on Instagram, my Instagram name is King Bolton 25, and that's also the same for Twitter. And that's usually where I post a lot of my journey, or even Facebook. Facebook's Jordan Bolton. So any of those three things, you can find me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jordan. And thank you so much for everybody listening today. I really appreciate your presence, your energy, and your responses with Tea and Honey Live. Get inspired when Tea and Honey Live posts a new episode every first and third Friday of the month on your favorite streaming platforms. Make sure you subscribe. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't be afraid to show some love by writing us an Apple Podcast review or by DMing us at Tea and Honey Live, sharing the A on Instagram and Twitter. Find our episodes also on YouTube, where you can visually see our guests talk it out. Find all this information at teaandhoney.ca. This is Tea and Honey Live, and we're checking out. Peace and love, y'all.